This podcast was written and created by Avi Melamed, Middle East intelligence analyst and founder of the Inside the Middle East Institute.
The burst of clashes between Syrian Kurds and the Syrian government in the beginning of 2026 are a reminder of a deeper Kurdish reality. Time and again, the Kurds have been mobilized as partners, allies, or proxies, only to be abandoned when geopolitical interests shift. Avi Melamed is sharing with us in a series of podcasts the unique saga of the Kurds. Well, the Kurds are. This is the concluding episode, Israel and the Kurds, Shared Foundations and Strategic Evolution. Let's dive in. So, for you listening, setting the stage here, we are really analyzing a relationship based on, well, a shared affinity rather than any sort of formal alliance.
Yeah, exactly. Avi Melamed actually refers to it as a structural reality because if you look at the history of the Middle East, it has essentially been dominated by three major civilizations. You have the Arab, Turkish, and Persian civilizations.
And obviously neither the Jews nor the Kurds fit into those three boxes.
Right. They are both non-Arab political actors in a historically tough neighborhood.
Which creates that natural strategic affinity.
It does. They're both minorities trying to navigate a turbulent environment. And they're often surrounded by adversaries who, frankly, deny their right to self-determination.
And when you list out those adversaries, the Venn diagram for both groups is practically a circle.
It really is. Both groups face existential threats from expansionist regional powers, specifically Iran and its proxy networks.
As well as jihadi movements, like ISIS.
Exactly. Melamed points out they share this parallel narrative of striving for independence. The Kurds often look at Israel's technological and military capabilities, and they see a model of resilience they want to emulate.
But it's not just a strategic marriage of convenience, right?
Yeah.
It's not just, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, because Melamed highlights a historical, cultural link that might surprise you.
The demographic connection, yes.
Yeah.
Jews and Kurds lived side by side for centuries. It goes way beyond modern politics.
Right. In the 1980s, the remaining Kurdish Jewish community in northern Iraq was actually smuggled out to Israel.
Yes, about 5,000 people. And today, there are approximately 150,000 Israelis of Kurdish origin.
That is a massive human bridge. We're talking about families and shared cultural memory, not just generals making backroom deals.
It certainly reinforces mutual empathy. But Melamed is very careful to note that the political relationship itself has always been highly pragmatic. If we look back chronologically to the 1950s and 60s, it fits perfectly into Israel's broader regional strategy.
The periphery doctrine.
Precisely. The strategy was to engage non-Arab actors on the periphery of hostile regimes to act as a counterbalance.
Which meant Israeli intelligence operatives were actually on the ground in Iraqi Kurdistan back then.
Assisting local authorities in their struggle against Baghdad, yes.
Then fast forward to post-2003, Saddam Hussein falls. You'd think that's the moment this covert relationship finally goes public.
Well, it definitely intensified. Melamed notes that after Saddam's fall, there were reports of Israeli contractors and business figures entering Iraqi Kurdistan.
There were even allegations in the Iraqi media that Israeli experts were training the Kurdish Peshmerga forces, though those were officially denied.
True, but despite those ties, if you go to Erbil today, in 2025 or 2026, you are not going to see an Israeli embassy.
Because the Kurdish regional government has to play a very delicate balancing act.
Exactly. They have to manage relations with Baghdad and Tehran. As Melamed explains, overt ties with Israel would just be too politically dangerous for them. They rely on economic stability and oil exports.
Which requires keeping the neighbors reasonably happy.
Right.
Which brings us to the modern Syrian context. The early 2026 clashes we mentioned at the start. With U.S. forces drawing down, the Syrian Kurds are left exposed. Does Israel step into that void?
The calculus in Syria is very different. For Israel, that arena is viewed primarily through the lens of threats from Iran and Hezbollah.
So Kurdish developments in Syria only really matter to Israel as far as they influence that specific balance of power?
That is the reality. Israel might share intelligence, but they are not going to step in to replace the U.S. security umbrella.
So to quickly summarize, we have a long-standing relationship defined by shared minority status and deep security concerns, but it is fundamentally limited by the Kurds' need to carefully navigate their immediate neighbors. It leaves you with a really provocative thought to mull over. If the regional power dynamics were to completely shift, reducing that neighboring pressure, would this quiet understanding finally step into the light, or is it destined to remain in the shadows forever?
However, Geopolitical constraints, particularly Kurdish dependence on neighboring states, ensure that the relationship remains pragmatic, discreet, and largely unofficial. It is less a formal alliance and more a long-standing strategic understanding shaped by regional realities.
This podcast is made possible by supporters like you. ITME is an independent, nonprofit institute committed to apolitical, intelligence-based Middle East education.
To learn more, or to support our work, visit our website www.insidethemiddle-east.com.